Okay, so you guys ended up going down, meeting up with Giles. You met Sir Bellamy Greensguard. You ate the little concoction that allowed you to breathe underwater for a good hour. After showing you guys all the many pieces of furniture that were discovered in books and down at the bottom of the lake, Giles had you eat the concoction that allows you to breathe water for an hour, sends you down below with Sir Bellamy, where you guys fought two crabs, giant crabs, and that gigantic octopus. With the help of Sir Bellamy, you were able to make pretty light work of it. You discovered that the crater, the lake is the remnants of a crater of the past. You found a couple of items down at the bottom of the, specifically a couple pillars and the was it an altar? Is that what the word was
Yeah,
used? And
yeah.
then you have the altar. When talking about that with Giles, he explains that he was able to decipher a little bit more of the book, and then he compared the symbol on the altar with one of the symbols in the back of the book. He also let you guys know that there was a superstition around the parts of the area where you're at. When traveling that area, it is a custom, something of very minimal value to you, as like an offering for your travels, to potentially prevent important items or goods to be missing or stolen from you guys. He pulled off a button from his coat arm, and he planted it in the ground. Which then, so after seeing Giles do that, Darren, you decided to offer up your old arcane focus, correct? Which was a crystal ball. You planted it nicely off in one of the bushes. You were the one that was having the conversation. Oh no, I'm sorry, Kenneth. You were the one having the conversation with Giles, and Darren. You kind of you saw the conversation because it was all sign language and understood. So that's when you decided to offer up your arcane focus. Oakfog, you were working with Sir Bellamy to create the pyres for the two archaeologists that were torn apart from the octopus, and I believe that's where we left off, if I'm correct. All right, so we left it off with Oakfog and Sir Bellamy finishing up the pyre.
Sir Bellsby, is there anything else we need to get for the pyres?
Well, you got the parts. We got the wood. I believe all that's left is to wrap them in linen, to say the sacred oath and words, and to light them ablaze, to go out in a blaze of glory.
Well, do you have any linen? Because I'm kind of out.
Ah, yes, I believe Sir Giles. He might have some in his bag. That shouldn't be an issue. Plus, there's only a few parts, unfortunately, so we shouldn't need more than a little bit. Let me go get them. And you see him rush off. Sir Giles. Giles, do you have any linen that you could spare for the ritual that we need to? And you see Giles look at him. A what, my boy? You see Bellamy sigh, rolls his eyes, and signs the same question. And he says, "Ah, yes. You see him reach into his bag, and he pulls out a couple pillowcases, really nice satin ones. You see, he's like, it's not much, but I believe this will do." Uh, Bellamy looks and he kind of nods. He grabs the two pillowcases and he starts tearing them into strips. He looks over at you, Oakfog, and I'll wrap these body parts if you don't mind wrapping those. And he hands you a few of the strips.
I can do that.
You see him start to wrap up the parts very delicately, very, very carefully, and with respect. very similar to like what you would see like a mummy.
Well, I'm gonna do my best to copy what he's doing and try to show respect to the dead.
As that's going on, you can't help but notice that like the look on Sir Bellamy's face of seriousness, of sorrow for the guys that passed away, but also the seriousness, the sorrow, the determination on his face to get this right strikes back a core memory. Give me a history check for me, please. Seeing that look on his face, you can't help but have a quick flash of memory. Broken buildings around you, smoke in the air, the end of a sunset which would normally be beautiful, but is haunting to you just from all the wreckage around. But that same look that he has wrapping these body parts, you can't help but be reminded of the look when he plucked you from the rubble.
I was just gonna be, oh shit, my heart.
You tuck away as you see Oakvog and Sir Bellamy gathering up all the stuff for the pyre. You see them start to wrap up the bodies for the funeral rite. You tuck away that that crystal ball that you've had for quite some time. But you tuck it away in this plant, this bush along the path. It's a little off to the ways, but as you roll it in, can I have you make a
14.
as you tuck your old arcane focus underneath that bush, hidden kind of pretty well, all things considered. As you step up from kneeling, tucking that away, you smell a little bit of smoke. Nothing super potent, but enough to make you curious, because you know the pyre isn't lit yet.
Do I just get the smell of smoke, or can I kind of get the sense of like the direction the smoke's coming from?
With you said you got a 14, correct? With the 14, you get the sense that the smell is very close. As you whip around, you notice that the smoke is coming from your bag.
Coming from my bag.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will. I'll use mage hand to pick my bag up and bring it towards me as I'm walking towards the bag to get there quicker.
Yeah, you do your mage hand. The bag's grabbed fairly easily, and you're able to catch up to the bag. Now, it's not a lot of smoke, mind you. It's just like a little, like a cigarette. Like in the cartoons, you know how they have that little bit of waft of smoke? You just see a little
Yeah,
waft of smoke coming from your bag.
that's a little strange. And I'll I guess like because I'm trying to like remember what could be in my bag, and do I see like a bucket around me anywhere?
Well, you're right next to the lake. You're still within. Um,
I guess I'll start walking towards the lake as like I'm opening up my bag and going through it. I just want to be near a place of water. I'm
mhm.
not just gonna like throw a bunch of water in my bag, but I want to be near a place of water while I try and figure out what's going on.
As you look in your bag, you start pulling things out one by one. You don't see anything too crazy. You don't see anything like damaged or anything. But you pull out your currency. You pull out like your 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 lamp, your ink, all of that stuff. But you notice that the corner of your bag where your oil was kept, there's a little bit of smolder coming off of the corner of your bag. But as you pulled everything out, you again you have all your ink, all your lamp, your parchment, your all your belongings. You pulled out the old boot you found on the side of the road, and you find the bottle that you found by the lakeside. And then again, when the bag is empty, when you pulled everything out, you realize everything is there. The corner of your bag has a little bit of like a couple drops of the oil with it smoldering from there.
I used to just kind of like shrug, like that's curious, but I don't have a reason to really just kind of like kind of guess what's going on. So I'll just like dip the quarter in to the lake. I'll pull out the oil, and I'll like turn my bag inside out and just kind of like brush off all the like charred remains of the bag. And I'll turn back to everybody. Hey guys, has anybody started a fire recently? Like any sparks or anything?
I look over at Oak Fog and I shrug my shoulder.
I'm gonna look over at Darren. It's like, no, we haven't started the fire yet. We're preparing to.
Interesting. All right then. Yeah, no problem. I'll just kind of note that. I'll leave it as is. I don't have really. There's just a lot running through my mind, and so a small little curious fire. I just something that I'm not as worried about as maybe I should be, but at this moment, there's a lot of other stuff that I'm thinking about, so I'm not super concerned about a teeny little fire.
So you leave everything, you leaving the bag out to dry, or are you putting everything back in your bag?
I'm gonna leave the bag out to dry since I did dunk a little bit of it in the water.
You just got done watching Oakvog and Sir Bellamy start to wrap up the body parts. Darren just questioned about a fire going on. What's going through your mind as you just heard Sir Giles tell you that the book was not requested from him for you to grab? You kind of feel a little lackluster that you were promised all these relics and this grand adventure, only to find that it was an empty lake with a very dull furniture.
I guess and I guess going back to what all we were able to read from the book, it was really just the story of the town. Like there wasn't really anything else besides that.
Yeah, essentially. So you find out that it's like the history of the town. If the town was like how people would write about Atlantis, how the people of the town would live. Like in the very beginning, it talks about how the people in the town were advanced civilization. They won. They had a great military. They defended the area. They claimed that part of the land. And then one day, after many years of ruling, that the pale sun rose over the hills, and with it came a message. I know I put the word. I thought that I typed it up and sent it to you. So pretty much, he says that the pale sun rose over the hilltop, and with the rising sun came a message for the children to find the wishing well, to wish for prosperity, and then to come back. When the kids did come back, every one of the adults were gone and were never seen again. And then that was pretty much the end of but then he said that there was a bunch of like symbols at the end that he could not translate because they weren't like words. They were like hieroglyphs.
And was he working on that, or was that something he said he needed time for?
Yeah. So he was looking at the book while you guys were down there in the
And so we just haven't caught back up.
I'm sorry, one more time.
And we just haven't caught back up with him on that yet, or?
Well, he pretty much was telling you this while everyone else was doing their stuff.
Gotcha.
But he was sharing with you the contents of the book, that all intents and purposes, it is like the origin of the fairy tale that you hear every now and then.
All right, and then we didn't.
Shit, I found it.
Okay.
And he said, the children grabbed the treasure from the well. After wishing for a bountiful harvest, took the treasure back home to the parents to find their parents were nowhere in sight. And that's where it ended.
Gotcha.
There were a couple pages missing after that.
And we didn't share any of this information with CYRUS, did we? Okay.
This was all found out after.
Yeah, but we didn't tell him about like the book or Withermore or anything like that.
You just said that you were headed over to
So I guess all that's on Kenneth's mind, right? Just remembering like the correlation between the story and the tattoo that was on Cyrus's back. So I guess what would be most intriguing to me is getting back and kind of questioning him. How far away is his cabin?
Just a few hour walk from
Just a
here.
few hours.
You guys were able to walk the side of that mountain and down into the area in about like 3 hours.
Well, I guess I'm gonna walk over to Darren then, and then just inform him of the correlation, the story and the tattoo on Cyrus's back.
Tell me about it, and I'll sit there and I'll think a little bit. Like, yeah, that is interesting because I mean the tattoo was faded, but he was covered in scars, and it may have been a faded tattoo, but it was of a sun rising. Yeah, I can see that being something that we should definitely go and check out. I don't. Do we want to do that tonight, or do we want to rest tonight and go up to him tomorrow? He did welcome us back anytime.
I think tomorrow might be a good idea because it seems like Oakfog and Sir Bellamy are up to a little something over there. So I don't know if they're available, and I'm a little tired from all.
Yeah, so we'll stay here for the night, and then tomorrow we will head up and I guess go and see if we can't talk to that man again and ask him some questions about it.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
As you guys are communicating, finishes up his pieces out of his back, some red ink, not quite a pen, not quite like a calligraphy, but more like they paint their kanjis.
Mm.
Very similar to that, like the ritual of preparing the bodies for the funeral pyre. He looks over at you and I believe we're ready.
And give these men some rest.
He looks at all of you, to Darren, to Kenneth, says if you'd like to.
And this is for the burning of the dead people.
You see him pull out of his bag. And you see Giles does the same, but he pulls out a bag of powdered silver. He lays it on their role or their duty. They did enough in this lifetime. Will look down favorably on them, and that they will continue. That you guys will continue to do their work for them, and then for them to rest in peace. And as he says that, you see all the writing on the linen light up. That glows red, and then you see the linen and the bodies start to glow as well. And then he looks over at Oakfog and he nods, giving you a hint to the pyre's catch. You see the flames soar and roar above. Strangely enough, even though the parts are burning, you don't smell anything. There's no rotten smell, no charred or cooking smell. It's very peaceful. Sir Bellamy sit down, kind of like crisscross applesauce style, puts his hands together and says a couple prayers silently for the next couple hours as the funeral. Do you all sit for the whole thing, or how long do you guys wait for?
I'm gonna sit down and pray next to him.
How long is this event?
A good hour and a half to 2 hours. It takes a while for everything to burn.
I'd say I wait for like an.
As the flames and everything start to like dwindle down, you head over to camp. Darren, what about you?
I'll sit and pray with them.
Mhm.
I just unsure of exactly who I'm praying to at this time. But I'll sit down and I'll say a few words of just a few words of prayer for the fallen men, and then just kind of sit and meditate and think about everything that I've learned today after being told that I believe I found what I was told I needed to find, and now I need to try and think about where to go next, and just try to get all the information straight in my head before we go and talk to the dwarf again.
You see, after about an hour or so, you see Giles looking to be deep in prayer. Kenneth, you end up going back to camp after about an hour or so. You do the same, Darren?
Yeah.
Okay, so you give a good hour or so after praying. You see after about an hour and a half, Bellamy gets up, stands up, gives one final prayer, turns around and gives you Oakvog a nod, and then he goes and
No, it's all over. I'll head back to camp.
as you get up and head back to camp, you can't help but notice that Giles is still deep in prayer. Not necessarily like saying anything, but you see his hands are like intertwined together, his fingers, and you hear something slight mumbling, but you can't tell if he's saying anything. Do you leave him be, or do you...
Let him know the rest of us are heading back to camp for the night.
As you gather him, you place your hand on his shoulder, and he gets startled, and he like jumps up. You can't help but notice that he was, during that whole thing, he fell asleep while praying, and he looks at you and he says, "Oh yes, I was just saying my final prayers." You see him get up and he heads back over to camp, wiping some drool from his lips from the side of his mouth.
I'll just chuckle and catch up with him and sign like, "I know you was sleeping, old timer. Don't have to lie."
What was that, my boy? I can't. Yeah, you know these deaf ears. I can't hear a thing. And Sir Bellamy lets you all know that you can all have a good night sleep. That he'll keep watch, and then you see him set up he sets up a makeshift trap around everything, and he insists that you guys get a good night's sleep.
Don't have to tell me twice.
I'm gonna feel secure and go to bed.
All right. Did any of you want to do anything before going to bed? As you go to gather everything, you can't help but notice that the bottle has slowly rolled away. You can still see it, but it's rolled a distance from where you originally set it.
And this is like my lantern bottle, like the lantern oil.
No, this is the old green beer bottle that you picked up on the side of the road when you set camp before for meeting CYRUS.
Yeah. I'll pick it up and I'll kind of wash it off in the water and take another look at it. And it's just like an old green bottle. There's like...
As you wash it off, you still see like there's algae and like moss and shit growing on the top of it, like the opening of the bottle. But the bottle is so old, like you can't see through the glass. When you peer inside, it's just like looks a little murky, but you don't see anything in.
But I'll kind of like chuckle to myself, and I'll go and just tuck it up next to where I tucked my arcane focus, and I'll just tuck both those things up there, and then I'll go and go to camp and go to bed.
Anything else anyone wants to do, or are we good to call it for the next day? You guys are able to get a good night's sleep. Everyone can have a long rest. You guys are level 3, so make sure all your stuff is...
I'm good as well.
Right. You guys wake up fairly early. You see Bellamy in the middle of the night after making sure everything was clear. He ended up getting some sleep as well. And Giles is already up, packing his tent and everything away for the night or for the day, and he's making his way back to the lake so he can try to find some more. Bellamy looks at you all and he said, "We're headed to a cabin." Kind of intrigued, but
Yes, sir. I think there's a fellow over there we met the other day who might be able to help us find this Withermore place.
do you mind if I tag along? You see him give a nod, and he goes to talk to Giles to let him know that he's going to make sure you guys get back to the cabin safe, to talk with the gentleman, and then he'll be back to help him out for the rest of the day. Darren, go ahead and make a... I'm not Darren, I'm sorry, Kenneth. Go ahead and make a...
That would be a 7.
As you gather up all your belongings, you can't help but notice an old piece of parchment next to on a tree next to the tent you were in, held in place with a broken arrow.
You said Next to our tent?
The tent that you were sleeping in.
And this was not there the night before?
You didn't notice it the night before.
I would like to go investigate.
As you get close to you're able to see a familiar, scratchy, pretty short message. Bring the book. Your time is running short, Asimar. And then it's just signed Three Finger.
That's eerie.
Give me you don't even need to check. You know that this Three Finger is essentially your handler. He's the one that sends you to find certain relics of the past. He's the one that sends you out like on to get of interest to him.
Okay.
Giles will give you, because he knows you have a personal interest in certain type of stuff. He'll give you hints, and sometimes to find the stuff you need or want, sometimes the black market is a good route to go.
Okay. Well, do I know where this person would be, or where I would need to go back to?
You just know that he sent you. He gave you a good amount of time, because obviously the book was well hidden. But you know that you have about another 4 to 5 days to deliver the book to the capital town, which is not too far from here, in like a good day or two.
Well, I'll keep that in the back of my mind.
You see Bellamy look at you all. He's like, "All right, I'm all ready. Are you guys ready to go?"
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'll walk over to the bush just out of curiosity and just see like if both those items are gone or if they only took one. Just to kind of out of curiosity to see if those items were left alone or not.
You notice that the items are still there. The bush that you tucked them away in has a faint glow to it. Like you know how like the leaves and everything, you could see kind of like the veins of leaves. They kind of have like a light, very faint glow to them now. The bottle itself is still there. It's laying down on its side, but you see one single like piece of rope, but like the length, like the thickness of a hair tie, strapping the bottle down.
I'll chuckle to myself and just kind of like a disbelief that they lit my backpack on fire because I didn't place the bottle and instead placed my old arcane focus. And I'll just leave both of the items there and let me know that I'm ready to go.
Right. You see Bellamy gives you a nod, and he says, "We'll lead the way." You guys are able to make your way quite easily back to the cabin, or at least to the area. Maps chat for fun. You'll have Cyrus's map. You guys are able to walk up to the farm area. You don't see, but you do see a little bit of smoke coming from the chimney.
I'll go knock on the door, see if he's home.
As you knock on the door, you hear a woman's voice on the inside. You hear kind of like and then after a few seconds, you have Cyrus open the door, and he says to you all, "Didn't expect to see you guys so soon. How did the lake go? You guys get what you need, find what you're looking for? Lake Forsona can be an interesting place."
It was definitely interesting. Had to fight an octopus down there.
You see him chuckle. "Oh, yeah, they can be quite. Oh, where are my manners? Come in." And you see him step out of the doorway and giving you the space to enter.
I'm gonna go on in and accept his offer.
So we got Oakvog, then Kenneth. Do you enter as well? Darren, you follow inside. You see Sir Bellamy kind of like leans in, wipes his feet off at the door. You see Cyrus lead you down that narrow hallway area that you see in the map. The left door, you see him close behind him. As you pass through, he leads you off into the distance and into the dining area where there's more seats. He says, "Hey, take a seat. Take a seat. Can I get you guys any tea?
One evaporated milk, please,
Uh,
if you have any on hand.
I can't say I have evaporated milk, but I can get you some fresh milk from the cows.
Oh no, thank you. I'm allergic actually. I'll take some tea. If
If you
that
got it,
works.
you got it." You see him look at each of you expectantly
I'll,
as well.
I will also take some tea.
I'm gonna take some tea as well while giving the side eye to Kenneth.
Hey man, it's
Uh,
kind of like my thing. I only drink milk if it's filtered by the.
If you say so, buddy.
Sir Bellamy says the same. Tea would be fine. Where he puts a pot on the.
And while he's off in the kitchen, I'm like, so, Cyrus, we actually love to take you up on that offer. Last time we here, you said you could talk about some of your scars. And I know it wasn't part of the offer. You'd mentioned specifically the scars you have, but what about your tattoo, if you wouldn't mind sharing that as well?
Go ahead and make a persuasion check for me, please.
Oh, sorry, I need to check something with my
Oh, you're good.
subclass.
While that's going on, you see Sir Bellamy sitting in his, looking around. You see him get up and he walks over to and he presses a key or two. The sound that comes from the piano is very pleasant, very like perfectly tuned, and you see him like delight because he wasn't expecting the piano to sound so nice. It's a bit quite old piano, but you see him start playing a light tune.
I cannot do what I wanted to do because I'd have to clearly cast a spell. Unfortunately, there's one isn't a type of spell. So I'll just roll my perception or my persuasion. 19.
You see him look at you as he's waiting for that, like the sun on my back.
Yes, actually.
I haven't thought about that in years. I always forget it's there, Try not to look back too often. It's an old tattoo when I was in the military. More like a signia. You interested in tattoos? He said, I got a couple more if you want to.
I
I'll say yeah, a little bit interested in tattoos. And while I'm talking to him, I'm gonna use my one of my class features to speak inside Kenneth's and why can't I remember people's names? Yeah, Kenneth and Oakvog's mind, and just like if you guys think I should tell him why, just nod real quick, and just gonna appear in their minds.
I'm a nod as well.
And what were you using?
So awakened mind as a bonus action. I could choose, so I'd have to technically use 2 bonus actions. So I'd be doing it while he was talking about his other tattoos. But awakened mind as a bonus action, choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of you, and the chosen creature can communicate with each other while the two of you are within 4 miles. To understand each other, you must mentally share a language. The telepathic connection lasts for 3 minutes and ends early if I use this ability to form a connection with another creature.
How many times can you do that? Is that like, there's no limit on that, is there?
It doesn't have a limit, no.
Cool. Just curious. So you're able to link with, but you can only link with one person at a time.
Yeah, so I'll link with them separately while he's going over his other tattoos.
Gotcha. You see him lift his leg, and he shows you, and then on his other one with the letter R, and then the other one with the letter J.
And does he give details about you don't have to actually give details, but does he give details about the other tattoos, or does he just kind of put quick remarks like he did with the one on his back, or does he actually have a story behind them?
The tribal one, he just tells you he was being stupid with some friends back in the day. The one with the heart with the R and the J in it, you see him he pats the tattoo, and he looks at you. He's like, that one's a bit more personal and maybe for another day. And then go ahead and make
7.
You just noticed that he got a little emotional, like a little teared up at that. Oakvog, go ahead and give me, while you're sitting there, you're listening to Bellamy play the Darren. If you can give me either an investigation if you would like to look for something around here, or just a perception check if you just want to get like your bearings in this.
Now, for you, like, would you say like look for something with the investigation check? Am I like physically like getting up and looking around,
Oh, I'm
or is it
sorry.
just like a?
I said Darren. I meant Kenneth. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm gonna do a perception just to get a general vibe.
Perception or investigation?
Yeah. So if you're actively trying to look for something, do an investigation. If you're just you know how people when they go inside someone's house, they like, oh, this is interesting, or hey, that's a nice room.
Gotcha.
That would be your perception.
I did a perception for 16.
Okay, so you got 16. Ogog, you got 21. With the 21, you heard a woman's voice in this cabin, but you don't see anyone other than Cyrus. As you sat down, you noticed that he closed the master bedroom on the left. You didn't see anyone as you walked by, but you can assume that is Cyrus's own room. The door on the right was closed already, but you don't see any other people. You do notice, however, that there are one sitting off in the corner, and the other one is just standing up. Just Kenneth, you notice that there's a lot of paintings in them. Some of them are really old. Some of them are fairly new. The older ones are very detailed, very delicately painted, very very Renaissance-y in terms of the quality and craftsmanship, and the newer ones, you start to see that the quality has started to diminish. The paintings are of two people, one older woman and one younger woman, a little girl essentially. The faces as the newer paintings are being painted, and you could see one on a easel not too far off. The details in the face are dwindling down little by little, and then you see Cyrus again. He pats the heart tattoo, rolls his pant leg down, and then you hear the whistle from the teapot. He's your tea's ready. Let's get back to the others. And he grabs the pot. He grabs a couple of. He asks you to grab a couple of the teacups that he has off on a shelf. And then as he goes back into the dining room, he beautifully played, sir. And Bellamy looks at him. The music played once again live. And then he sits down. And he pours you all your.
I thank him for the tea, and I'm gonna ask him if we came at a bad time because I heard a female in the cabin before you answered the door.
Just give me 1 second. Sorry, guys.
I'm just seeing if we came at the wrong time, you know.
He says, he looks at you and he says, you didn't hear it. You see him kind of chuckle to himself. You're like, you didn't hear a woman. You heard Vanel. And you see him point over to the robot in the corner. He says, Vanel, you can come out. And you see what would be an old-timey like black and white movie kind of character with like the top hat and the cane and everything. You see the robot stand up. Essentially, it's a like a war forged. You see him stand up. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know if you wanted to have me, communicate with everyone or not." And you can't help but notice that even though like it's a robot, it speaks in song or like music from like lyrics of different songs of the area, spliced together to make his conversation very similar to like Bumblebee and Transformers. So he says, "Yes, it's okay, Vanel." He says, he looks at you all and he says, "If Vanel goes by Vinny for short, but what you heard was playing back something for me." And he looks over at the robot. He says, "Go ahead, Vinny." And you see Vinny grabs his head, where his hat is, kind of tilts it, and you can see like there's a hinge on the back of it, and that the top half pops off, and you see an old record player. You see him turn the record on, and it's a voice, a young lady just talking about her day. Nothing in particular, nothing special, but just like the home videos would be.
Mm-hmm.
And you see Cyrus get a little smirk and smile on his face. He says, that would be Gemma.
Sorry to bring it up. I just didn't want to. We just wanted to make sure we didn't come at a inopportune time for you.
Not at all. I could use the company. He says, do you have any requests? I have much more than just the recordings of Gemma. Name a song, any song. And he looks at all three of you. And then you hear Bellamy. He's like, you don't happen to have the king's affirmation, do you? You see him laugh. You're like, of course I do. Can you grab the king's affirmation? And you see Vinny do a slight nod, and he reaches into a bag on his side, and pulls out a brand new like vinyl record, the size of like a CD. He takes off the one currently in place, and he places it like a protector, and he puts it back in the bag, and he puts the new record on. And as it starts to play, you hear the King's Affirmation, a very popular song of old days. And then you see Bellamy start to play along with it. He misses a few key notes, but he's able to keep up pretty well and play along with Vinny. He says, other than that, anything else? Did you guys find out what you wanted from the lake?
Actually, Cyrus, and it's actually kind of what brought us back, and and I'm gonna be honest with you, probably one of the main reasons that I asked about your tattoo. I guess I'm just gonna come out and say it. My friend here, and I'll gesture over towards Kenneth. My friend here found a book about the Withermore, and we down in the lake. All the noise that you heard actually was just below the surface. Like, you go into the lake and you go just below the surface a little bit, and there's a crater there. And we were looking at it, and after fighting off the octopus and the crabs and whatnot, we found a few items, and found out that these items all had some faint magic residue, as you would call it, left on them. One of the other gentlemen that we had down there was translating this book for us. And I personally believe that the crater that we were looking at might have been where Withermore was. But there was a section in the book that brought us to think of your tattoo. I apologize if this may not be something you do want to talk about. If not, it is perfectly okay to say you don't know anything about it. But I would like, if at all possible, the honesty about the tattoo. Because the section of the book had mentioned of a white sun that rose over the mountains and gave word to the people and the children of this town to find a magic well to find riches and treasures. And they went and found the well, and when they came back, all of their parents were nowhere to be found. And there were plenty of other things about the book. Just basically, this book seems like the old legend of what started Withermore. I don't know, that sunrising tattoo that you have just kind of... we thought of it when we learned about that specific article in the book.
You see his facial expression gets a little stern, and he says, do you have this book with you?
I nod and I pull out the book and slide it across the table to him.
You see him look at the book, flips through a couple of the pages. I'm sorry, but I don't understand the language in this book. If this book says anything about Withermore, it's going to be the fairy tales that everyone already knows. And he sets it down and he slides it back to you. But in regards to my tattoo on my back, it's, again, just a insignia of when I served in the military.
No, and he's given us the tea, right?
Yes, he's poured the tea for you already.
I'll take some of the tea, and I'll after I take a sip of the tea, like, oh, that is very delicious tea. But also, I do
As you
have to
say
use.
that, I'm sorry. As you say that, he looks like, oh, where are my manners? Do you need sugar cubes for the tea?
No, no. I like my tea as it is. But I'll after that I'll say, but if it's not too much to ask, I do need to use the restroom,
Yes, there's an outhouse out back.
and I'll go outside, and I'm gonna pretend to go to the bathroom,
Hmm.
like mimic the whole process, and then as I'm walking back around the front of the house before I walk into the front door, I'm going to cast Detect Thoughts on myself.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm gonna
gotcha,
cast
gotcha,
Detect
gotcha, gotcha.
Thoughts. Hold on, I have to wait. It's changed a little bit. I have to read what it does. Hold on a
Hmm.
second. Okay, so I'll be casting it, and I'll time it to where when I finish casting it, I can see Cyrus because I'm going to cast the Read Thoughts. Because there's a Sense Thoughts and a Read Thoughts, and so Read Thoughts target one creature I can see within 30 feet of myself, or one creature within 30 feet of myself that I detected with the Sense Thoughts. And then I learn what is most on the target's mind right now. And that if the target doesn't know any language or isn't telepathic, I learn nothing. So I'm going to cast it on him, and I have a minute to use this, but I'm going to cast it on him as I'm walking back in.
And
And
you're
then,
just doing surface thoughts, right?
yeah, I'd have to try and dig deeper, and then he'd have to do a saving throw, and then when he does a saving throw, especially if he fails, I believe he would know. It does well. Yeah. Okay. So as a magic action on my turn and try to peer deeper. Okay, yeah. So as long as I don't try to peer deep into his mind, he
Hmm.
doesn't know that I'm doing it. So I'm just doing the surface thoughts just to get surface thoughts about him.
Surface thoughts is he he's looking at everyone and he's like, how much do they truly know?
And I'll sit back down at the table. Like, sorry about that, but thank you. And I'll take some more of the tea. And I'll kind of bring the topic back towards Withermore a little bit. I'll be like, yeah, I haven't personally read the book myself. I have the ability to like comprehend languages, but it's a to do that is a long time-consuming process that I really haven't had the time to do. And I honestly don't know too many stories about Withermore. What's um what's one story like what's one of the most famous tales about Withermore that you know if you don't mind sharing? I feel like I just have this weird inkling about this place and want to try and learn more. I understand that it's a fairy tale and most people look at me like I'm crazy when I ask about it, but after what I sensed in the crater back there, I'm worried that if I don't know more about it, it could come back later and bite me in the ass per se.
He looks at you and he says, well, I know what pretty much everyone else knows about the place. It's used to be a fancy town, technology beyond its years. The people got too comfortable with that technology. Over time, the technology ended up taking them all away. You rely too much on technology and not enough on nature, you lose sight of what. Thank God it's just a fairy tale, right? He says, here, I think I have a copy of the book. And you see him walk over to the shelves where his bookshelves are. And he says, oh, yes, here. Here's a copy. And he hands you it's a little old, but all his books are pretty old, but still in decent condition. You see it's a kid's book on.
Well, I appreciate this. And then when I asked more questions about it, what were his thoughts?
His thoughts were his thoughts are seems as if they don't, like a sigh of relief.
I'll uh, I'll start skimming through the book a little bit and enjoying the tea and let other people have conversation with this fine gentleman.
He's gonna look over at you, Kenneth, and interesting ring you got there. Where'd you get something like that?
I tell him you have to hold on and let me think because I don't remember.
You see him. Yes. Old age gets us all.
I remind him that I'm only 25 or something. Hold on. I forgot
I
we
guess
did this.
he also he looks at you, Oakvog. He takes in the metal armor that you're wearing. What oath did you take for your rite of passage?
The oath of protection. Wanted to protect the weak and the helpless.
It's actually the one I chose when I was and you see him point over to the other robot, and that mannequin robot over there is what holds my old gear. And you see the mannequin's holding a giant long sword.
Must be some impressive gear to last the years.
The army tends to take good measures in making sure that their property, so to speak, are.
That does make sense.
And he looks over at as Bellamy's still playing the piano. He's, for me, long ago I took the oath of glory. As you could see, I'm still working on it. Give a nod of acknowledgement. It's like, aren't we all? And he looks at you. He says, but again, the ring. Where did you find such a treasure as that? As he's looking back at you, Ken.
Oh, I'm gonna be honest. I don't even remember where I found it. It's just I go on about my adventures and I just find things here and there. It's just one of those things I picked up, amongst my expeditions.
Spoils of war.
Yeah,
And
of
he gives you a
course.
wink.
So something you know a lot about, huh? Withermore and all, huh? And then can I roll intimidation on that?
Sure, go for it. He looks at you, kind of gives a smirk, and the army, they always say that you're able to take. I wasn't quite a fan of that. I try to be a man of simple nature and tastes. You see him pointing to his paintings, his old piano, his robot with the vinyl records. He said, and simple hobbies. He points over behind him to the window where you look outside and you could see the trees that he had chopped down the day prior. It's astonishing how many trees this man has chopped since you just walked by yesterday. And then he points to a couple around the area with plants, flowers, homegrown herbs and spices. And then in the corner you see a terrarium, a quite large terrarium. So I'm just a man of simple tastes. I was never one from our conquests, but I understand the need for others to do so.
What do you mean by that? And then I press on with that, are you implying that something with Withermore?
He's gonna look at you all and all this talk about Withermore. It's just a made-up fairy tale to keep the kids in line. To warn people of technology, that relying too much on technology is gonna end up being the downfall of humanity.
And I rolled to see if he's lying.
Yeah, go for an insight check. You could see with a 10, you could see that he's getting a little frustrated with the topic of Withermore over and over. Does anyone else need any more tea?
No, thank you.
I shake my head no, and I look at Darren, as for any sort of idea as to where to press on next.
I'll notice Kenneth look at me after saying that, and again I'll speak in his mind. And I'll just say, he knows something, but let's not press it. When we have more information, we can always come back. I'll sip some more of my tea. I'll say, I do appreciate the offer for more tea, but I don't want to take all of your supplies. I see that you're pretty well secluded from everyone. I don't imagine that you grow massive amounts to throw outrageous parties here, but I do appreciate the offer.
He's even give a slight nod.
And then I'll just
he
kind
says
of...
to you, are you all going to be staying, or I do have an extra room if you guys want to stay, or...
I'll look around and I'll say, I'm not sure exactly where we're going next. Does anybody have any ideas on where the next leg of this journey will take us?
What was the name of the big town?
The big
Or did I
town.
know that?
All my stuff is gone. You see him look at each of you, and he says, "Well, right now the only thing nearby is is Lake Forsona. There is the town, the capital, about 2 days journey north. You see, it says the nearest town is going to be the capital up north, which is going to be, I'm sorry, Northwich, and I'll put that in the chat for you guys."
I look at Darren and Oakfog and I say, well, funny enough, I do have business to attend to at the cap. I think that's next on the list.
Looks like we are heading to the capital as the next leg of our journey then.
Hopefully, more fun stuff happens in the capital.
As Cyrus hears that, he says, "Ah, yes. Be mindful of the people in Northwich. They could be quite." After he pauses for that, you see Bellamy say that he appreciates the tea, but he's going to be heading back to Lake Forsona. He's got to take care of Giles and all.
Thank you, Cyrus, for your hospitality. We'll definitely make sure to make it a point anytime we are traveling through here to stop by and say hello.
Please do.
Any way to pay you back for your hospitality? Is there anything, like, if we see anything about our ventures, that we could pick up for you to return the favor of the hospitality that you've shown to us this day?
Do you plan on coming back after the capital?
I have a sneaking suspicion that, as much as I want to pretend that Withermore was just a fairy tale and there is no more to it, I may be finding myself coming back to the crater in the lake again.
Well, if you do decide to come back, he hands you a couple silver. Says, take this. If you happen to find a nice wine, a red wine would be nice. That would be greatly appreciated.
A nice red wine, you say?
Yes, it used to be what Gemma used to drink.
I will absolutely do my best. And if I find one, even if I don't have a reason to come back, if I find a nice red wine, I will make sure to bring this back for you.
You see him before you go, and he reaches into his cupboard and he pulls out a handful of rolls, like pastry rolls. He said these used to be so I always keep a couple on hand just in case I get a couple of visitors every now and then. And he hands each of you one of the pastries. It ends up being a mandarin orange tart.
Why,
Thank
thank you for
you.
the treat.
Thank you very much.
Let me walk you to the door. You see him stand up, and at this point, like, you guys have been talking with him for a while, and you saw him yesterday chopping wood. Go ahead and give me a perception check. 18 and 22. Oakfog, everyone seems small to you, with the exception of Sir Bellamy. For the other two, you guys notice that, like, you've been talking with him for a while now, about a good hour or so. You saw him chopping wood. You guys just realized just how big and strong Cyrus really is. As he hands you those tarts, you realize this guy has a stature to him, an unusual stature to him. But he says, after you guys, and he opens the door and to lead you out.
And I'll walk out.
I'm gonna thank him as I walk out, but I'm gonna say, next time I stop by, maybe you can tell me about the Grove of Requirement.
You see a slide. Actually, give me a persuasion check with advantage.
With advantage.
You see a smile rise his lips, and he gives you a nod. But right before he closes the door, he begins to mention, again, guys, be careful how much you speak of Withermore. You don't know what crazy people there are out there. Some people take it serious. Just remember, it's just a fairy tale. And then he closes the door as he walks back.
What did you two think of him? Did
Um,
you guys gather any information from any of that?
because we're like still right outside his door. I'm just gonna like clock you real quick, and in your mind, I'm gonna say just keep walking first, and just kind of walk off, go on my merry way.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys are able to get a good 30, 40, 50 feet away. If you want to continue talking or keep on moving, it's up to you.
I think I'll keep walking a little bit farther. I want to say I think I'll just start making small talk instead as we're walking away. I'm like, so Kenneth, you said we have to go to the main city. What do we have to do there? And kind of do small talk as we're walking away.
Well, the person who sent me out on the adventure to get this book is interested in seeing that I bring it back to him. That's lead number 2, I suppose, or 3, or 4.
All right. And are we all planning to stay together? Are we going to plan to see this through to the end?
I
We'll
look
see
at Sir
what-
Bellamy and just like, if anything, we'll see each other again, right?
Oh, of course, my boy. You know where I'll be. And he hints towards the lake.
I think there will be adventure on my end too, so I think I'm gonna head with these guys for now.
That's what I like to hear. But if you get bored, something tells me we're going to get a little more action over here once things start picking up. He said that lake, those trinkets are only the beginning.
Well, if you need me to come back sooner, you can just send Cordell over and he'll lead me to you again.
Of course. And you hear him whistle, and you see you as he puts his fingers in his mouth to loudly whistle. You see Cordell fly overhead and give a hoot.
I guess adventure awaits you two.
And after we've gone a good like 30 feet or like 30 minutes away, I'll start telling them what I was getting with my detect thoughts. I'm like, so for one, he did start to get really irritated with all of the Withermore talk. For two, he was curious about how much we knew about it. When I asked him more, explaining that I didn't know much about it, he was relieved that we didn't know more about it. So I do believe we will be seeing that man again. I believe our journey will take us back. I don't believe it'll actually take us back to the crater. I think it'll be taking us back directly to him.
Sorry I brought it up so close to his house after we left. That was my bad. I was just a little excited. You guys were giving each other looks.
Okay. It is okay. But yeah, we should definitely, especially with that reaction, I don't believe Withermore is as much of a fairy tale as people try to make other people believe it is.
Most likely not. Too many strange things happening.
Too many.
Kenneth, go ahead and give me a
coincidences.
perception check.
Would be a 17.
As you're leaving the area, Cyrus's house or cabin, you notice the same graves behind his house, a little off in the two headstones. But you also notice that on the side of the road next to you is a chess piece, like a crystal chess piece of a knight, like the horse, halfway buried in the ground.
An old chess piece, right? I am curious in this.
As you go down to look, you see that no check needed for it. You see that the crystal is a little bit old. It has a little crack in it, but the whole bottom half of the piece is submerged in the dirt. But you notice that there's very, very small pebbles around the path area. Strangely enough, circling the chess piece.
And you said how big was it?
It's a regular chess piece.
Oh,
As you pick up the chess piece, you're easily able to pick it up and remove it from the ground.
just gonna hang on to it.
Mark a chess piece and crystal chess piece in your inventory. But yeah, you guys are headed to. We'll end the session here. You guys have just left Cyrus's cabin and are going to make your way to Northwich.